Finally. Okay, welcome back to the garage, where today we're going to go through this lovely little SLK and see if we think it's still the car that it once was. Let's get started. I guess I'll buckle in quickly. There we go. Right then, so the SLK. What is it? What is it about? And is it any good today? Well, first of all, it's best, I guess, to introduce the car. So this is a 1999 Mercedes SLK 230 compressor. It's very reminiscent, this car inside, of the Mercedes that my dad used to drive back in the day, as it were. It's got that classic Mercedes sort of big chunky steering wheel, the very analog type dials, and the dash shroud with the sort of chrome and white dials behind. Looks really quite cool, I think. Really quite retro. But yes, that is what this car is. This one's covered a mere 68,000 miles. It's in lovely condition, this little car. It's had some recent work done to it. If you remember from the last video as well, this is actually the one that Greg purchased a fair few months ago as an end of summer runaround. So this is the sort of last chance saloon to get it out for a spin, really, because he's got it up for sale. So I'm very, very privileged to be giving it a go. I actually remember when my sister bought one of these, nearly new. It's nice inside. I quite like it. It doesn't feel plasticky like you'd expect, and certainly not like the modern cars. It's got some really nice little touches, like this little cup holder that's in the center of the dash there. Like I say, I love the dials and the dash shroud. I love all these sort of like really obvious sort of push buttons that will make a click and a clunk when you press them and stuff like that. It's really quite nice, and this sort of carbon effect center trim I think it's definitely better than the wood that you see in cars of this era. But everything feels quite nice, quite tight, really quite nice quality, to be quite honest. It doesn't feel like an old ragged car at all, sat in it or looking at it, does it? I think the best thing to do then is to give it a spin. So let's do that. So shifter down in the drive there. Feel the gearbox engage, and I guess off we go. So this car, when it came out, I guess was quite revolutionary, really, especially with the, or particularly, I guess, with the fact it's got the metal folding roof there. Its rivals within the class, things like the MX-5 or the Z3 or the TT convertible, all had fabric roofs, didn't they? So this was marketed and announced as a two-seater convertible that you could use all year round. And I think it fits that bill really quite nicely, actually. It's middle of November now, so it's cold, it's wet. This car's been outside the last couple of days and doesn't show any obvious signs of leaks or anything like that, so which is really quite refreshing. Now the engine in this car, the 230 compressor engine, is 193 horsepower. It's a 5-speed automatic gearbox, with the option to change it into 4, 3, 2 and 1. I don't know how often, if ever, you'd use that, but I think the design for the car and the purpose for the car, in my opinion, is different to its rivals, and I think it ticks a different box, because things like the Z3 or the MX-5 are much more sort of weekend spirited fun cars, I'd suggest, to the drive. The Z3 in particular, obviously it's a bit rougher, a bit harder, a bit more sporty. If that's what you like, then great. That'd be a nice thing to consider if that's what you want it for. And the MX-5 is the same sort of thing, I guess. It's more lightweight, the MX-5. It's definitely more sort of racy in terms of its feel and things like that, and you don't get the sort of German build quality with the inside and things like that. Things like the TT sort of, I guess, would be a compromise between this and the Z3. I don't think it's as soft or as smooth to drive, the TT, at all, and it's not as engaging or dialed in as the Z3. But let's look at this car for what it is and appreciate it for what it is, which is a 25-year-old Mercedes sports car, as it were. I must say, it's a lovely little car. First impressions, I'm really quite impressed. The car's quiet, it's smooth, it's comfortable. The engine's quite awake. The gear change is fairly smooth. So yeah, I'm really quite impressed. We've obviously got to remember that it is 25 years old. I keep saying that, I know, but I can't say it enough, because to compare this to a modern car would be madness, in the sense of how the car behaves and acts, especially with things like the gearbox. It's an old gearbox, but really quite impressed. Nice heavy accelerator pedal as well, so you know when you're pressing it, and you've got to give it a bit of effort to tell the car you want to move. There's quite a bit of resistance there, which I quite like, actually. But inside the cabin, I feel really quite happy. I'm not short by any means. I'm not the tallest person in the world. I stand at an even sort of 6 odd foot with the right shoes on. Plenty of headroom. I don't feel enclosed from either side. I don't feel like the cockpit's trying to swallow me whole. Everything's very accessible, which is one thing I do love on old cars, actually, that things are so blatant as to where they are. Look at the fans. It's a massive turn dial there with numbers in it. It's very obvious. And all the buttons here make it really, really obvious as to what you need to press to get what you want, which I do love. And it's quiet. It doesn't, it's a convertible, of course, so that you do get the odd bit of scuttle shake and panel vibration and stuff like that, but really, it's really minimal. It doesn't sort of roll down the road clattering and clunking and knocking, and it doesn't, and you don't hear a lot, if any, wind noise either, so coming from inside. So I mean, it shows that this car was actually built quite well, I think, and it makes it quite pleasant to drive. But it feels smooth and quiet and warm inside. I like it. It doesn't feel like a raggedy old car at all. See how peppy this little engine is then. I need to get out of here quick anyway, but let's have a look. So, out we go. Traction control's kicking in. Oh, off we go. That's what I expected. Not bad at all. It's quite peppy. I can see it's not the heaviest car in the world or the biggest car in the world. It's 190 odd horsepower. That's plentiful. That is absolutely plentiful. It's enough to get you out of trouble. It's enough to overtake. It's enough to get you off the mark without feeling like you need someone to pull you along. It's fine. And the gear change was fine then. See, it's definitely not as smooth or swift as a dual clutch or a modern gearbox, but that's not what car it is it? But it isn't one you're waiting for an age to change gear. It's not all lumpy and horrible. It's actually, I think that was quite good. That's really quite good. Yeah, and the kick down there, traction kicking in again. Yeah, so there's no huge delay on the kick down. It's what you'd want and expect from this car, I think, because the SLK, I mentioned a couple of its rivals a minute ago. The SLK, I think, fits a different bill, which I started to say earlier, so I'll finish that point now, I guess, because it ties in with what I was about to say. It fits the bill of a little two-seater countryside cruiser, I think is the best way to say it, this car. It's not a very spirited drive. It's not an engaging drive. It's not sort of super sharp handling or really responsive. Doesn't feel particularly dialed in or anything like that. But it's smooth. It's a nice, smooth, comfy car you could quite easily take out in the country or for a jaunt on the weekend, and you feel like you could genuinely drive this car miles, and you wouldn't get out the other side feeling like you've just been dragged through a hedge backwards. It's really easy to drive. The suspension's very compliant, the steering's nice and light, the engine's smooth, the gearbox is smooth. It's really easy to drive. Like I said, I could quite happily picture myself doing miles in this car and sat in it for hours without any complaints, which can't be said for its rivals of the era. Definitely not. Brakes are good. Greg's just had all the brakes done on this, actually, so that might be part and parcel as to why, but they are good. They are fine. Yeah, it stops quite rapidly. The ABS kicks in nicely, yeah. It's very wet and leafy around here. Leafy? There's leaves everywhere. And based on that, the fact that it's not a very engaged, sort of dialed in sort of sports car, it's more of a country cruiser, I think. I don't actually, I think the V6 would be okay, the 320, but I don't know what the little AMG version of this would be like. I don't actually know the power stats or anything on that, but unless they've done some overhaul into the suspension and the gearbox and stuff like that, unless that's radically different, I can't imagine that would be a very confidence-inspiring car to work to its limits, to be honest, at all. It's just super, super smooth. Typical Mercedes of the era. If you've ever experienced them, like I say, like my dad used to have Mercedes of this era all the time. C-classes, 190Es, CLKs, things like that. And I've had a couple myself, and they all feel the same. They're just so easy to drive, so smooth on the suspension and the steering. It's really effortless to cover miles in these cars. Now, as much as I love this car and think it's a really good purchase, especially when you consider nowadays, for example, I think this one's up for about £2,500, which is such a load of car for the money. You get some nice creature comforts for it. It's all leather inside, the carbon effect dash, it's automatic air conditioning, 2-stage electric heated seats, you've got cruise control, fully electric operated hood, various things like that. It's just a load of car for the money, isn't it? So one little thing I did want to point out on this car, because I can't help but continue to notice it, the chap that had this car before was a big Mercedes lover, a big Mercedes fan. He always took this car to Mercedes, from what I understand, and it's apparent in the fact that staring at me are 2 windscreen wipers with massive Mercedes emblems on it. So he's even had his wipers and things replaced at Mercedes, which I think is just sweet. It's just a nice touch, isn't it, on this car. Now, it's key to remember, if you're looking to buy one of these or something like this, you've got to appreciate what you're getting yourself in for. As I said just a minute ago, the car represents awesome value at a couple of grand. What a load of car you get for that money. But the reason it's a couple of grand is because it's, again, nearly 25 years old. And along with that comes some things you've got to understand and appreciate. Like I said, this one's only done 68,000 miles, which is lovely. But it still had all that time to spend in the Great British weather, and depending on where the car's been stored will make a difference as to what you're sort of in for. These cars are notorious for rust, these SLKs. They're terrible for it. The bodies just seem to disintegrate. They are awful. This one's got a couple of patches on it, nothing sinister at all, which is really refreshing, and probably testament to the chap that had it before and the people that have owned it previous. But as with any car of this age, you've got to understand that all the componentry is that old as well. So unless it's been replaced or protected, then you've got to go into it understanding that there might be some corrosion present, some bits might be seized, and you might have to put some money into bringing the car up to specs, depending on what you buy and who you're buying it from, I guess. This one's a really nice example of this. But that's the same with any car of this age. The E46 we just bought, for God's sake, if you've seen those videos, crikey, we spent so much money on it, just sort of revamping stuff that needed revamping, or putting things right that needed to be put right because it's a 20-year-old car. But with something like this at 68,000 miles, you're off to a fairly good start. MOT history is something to consider. It's great to have a look back through a car's past of this age, because it gives you an insight as to, that can give you an insight as to how it's been kept. Now, expect some underbody corrosion on a car like this, surface corrosion. You're going to get it. You're absolutely going to get it. It's cars of this age have either been undersealed or they've got surface corrosion. There's no alternative. It is what it is. It's as simple as that. Surface corrosion isn't the end of the world, but as long as it is just surface corrosion. Anything structural is a problem, of course. Right, we're going to reverse it into a parking space now. So let's see what that's like. Slide it up to reverse. Engages smoothly. Great. Visibility is pretty good. I can sort of... It throws you off looking out the back, actually, because all you see is the sort of edges of the pillars. I don't actually... Oh my God, that is terrible. That is... I've got the smallest car in the car park and I parked it the worst out of everyone. That is awful. Alright, now the turning circle on this is not as good as I thought it was going to be. And he's pulled right behind me. So, I actually think Mercedes are, of this era especially, I've always said, and my dad always used to say, they turn on a sixpence, these cars, Craig, turn on a sixpence. And I've always agreed. But I actually think this one has not got as good a turning circle as I expected. I expected to swing out of there with room to spare, but as you saw, it did not. Not that it's got a bad turning circle. Just not as tight as I thought. To be honest, I've been driving this car around a little bit over the last couple of days, and I can't think what my MPG is, but I would suggest it's somewhere comfortably in the early 30s, I would have thought, and on a run it's considerably more than that, I would guess. So it's actually quite reasonable on fuel, this car. Well, I guess it's time to be objective then. Some things I like about the car. I like the aesthetics. I like how it looks outside. I like how it looks inside. I like how smooth it is. I like how quiet it is. And I like the little engine. It's plenty sprightly enough. So I like that. Things I don't like about the car. The turning circle's not as good as I thought. I know that's petty, but it's just something I don't like. Not as good as I thought. The gearbox is obviously a little bit lazy on initial get-go. If you're at traffic lights or you're at a junction and you want to get out quick, you can nail your foot and don't expect to be going within half a second. It wouldn't stop me from having it, and it wouldn't. I've already said that. But yeah, that's just something that I don't like. I guess being petty again, I don't like how long it takes to operate the roof. It's not the fastest roof in the world. It's not the worst I've experienced, but it's quite slow. It is quite slow. And I don't like sometimes how vague the steering is. So sometimes if you're on a country road or an A road or something like that, it's really actually quite hard to judge the level of steering input. Sometimes you've got to put in to hit a corner nicely. Like I say, it's just a bit vague. But again, that's being petty. I know that's not what the car is for, but that's just something I noticed when I was driving it. So I thought I'd say it. I'm blown away at the fact that for £2,500 you can get a Mercedes 2-seater hardtop convertible with German build quality, a peppy little engine, an automatic gearbox, and all the creature comforts that we mentioned before. It just seems like such an absolute bargain. It's really quite nostalgic for me, this car. I mentioned my sister had one when they were nearly new, actually, a W-Reg one. I remember that car, and I remember being back in the day where these were nearly new and this sort of era Mercedes were out, and I just remember on the weekends just begging my dad, can we go out for a drive, can we go out for a drive, can we go out for a drive? And that would just be, you know, that was the sort of time you could just go out for a drive, and it would be in cars like this, a Mercedes like this, with this sort of setup and look and feel to it, and it's really quite nostalgic and reminiscent for me. So it gives me good vibes, this car. And that being the case, actually, I forced my girlfriend to go out with my wife, to go, I do that all the time, to go out for an evening drive with me the other day, innit? We go through so many cars nowadays without actually having any, what I would say, experiences in them. You never just go out, very rarely you go out for a drive in a modern car to just go out for a drive, because they're so sort of robotic, aren't they? You know, they're, in the most case, unless you've got the ability and you're in the situation where you can buy something really special, then obviously that's the case. But, you know, that isn't the case for most. And this car for me just brings that whole sort of thing and vibe back, and I love it. It's hard to drive this car without a smile, to be fair. Let's give it a bit of a taste in and see what it's like. So, I'm not going to try the manual gears because that just seems, I just don't think it'll impress me. Pop your foot down then. There's the kick down, gentle kick down. I haven't gone past the overdrive bit. Stick it into a corner a little bit. There he is. It's a little bit wallowy. It's not actually terrible. But it ain't dialed in. It's fine. Holds the road fine. So the traffic lights are back, thank God. So I think in summary, I've got to give this car the thumbs up, the SLK. I really did enjoy that. It's a really nice car, and I just don't think you can rival it for the money. I sincerely don't. If that's what you want, if you want a nice, affordable, two-seater sports car that you can use all year round, or not, because the hardtop enables that, then this is something you definitely got to consider. And I think that's probably the best place to leave the video. So I'll say thanks very much if you're watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed, it really helps us out. Your comments are always welcome. And I very much look forward to seeing you in the next one.